Take the fast commercial break. We continue with the discussions right here on the round table. But before we get to engage with my panelists, let's cross over to an interview that was recorded earlier this week on Thursday, a conversation with the chair of the JLAC committee in the National Assembly, George Murugara, speaking about the progress around the NADCO report and what we can expect within the time frame of 45 days or less. Let's listen in.
Well, thank you very much. We're now joined by the chairperson of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the National Assembly, George Murugara, who is also the Member of Parliament for Tharaka, to give us some of the details about the National Dialogue Committee report that is currently in their docket. And we just want to know the updates so far. Thank you so much, Chair, for your time.
Thank you.
What is the latest? Because you were given 45 days, you're now down about 40 days. What's the latest?
The latest is that we were supposed to have a second meeting yesterday morning. And unfortunately, Senate was not able to attend because they have the impeachment motion that is going on in that house. And being a very crucial motion, then they sought excuse from us. And they said we would actually have to adjourn this to the next date. Justice and Legal Affairs met, and we agreed by consent to adjourn the matter to Wednesday next week. So next week is going to be the second day of the meeting of the joint committee between JLAC of National Assembly and JLAC of the Senate.
Okay. And so far, what are the contentious issues that you have noticed in this report, Chairman?
We have not gone through the report in detail because we were actually doing the preliminaries. We were doing exactly how our paperwork is going to be, when to hold the joint meetings, and also try to come up with the agenda for each of the meetings. There are legislative proposals that were made by NADCO. They proposed 8 key laws, out of which 4 of them have been published. Then if the other 4, we have to look at them before publication. There may be 1 or 2 issues that are in contention, but we may not be able to isolate that now until we have the proper meetings and we have discussed what is on the table.
Okay. Were they 8 or 9?
I'm aware of 8 that were proposed. I'm aware 4 have been published. There may be a 9th one coming out of what we are going to be working on, but they have not yet made constitutional proposals, constitutional bills. Those ones were left to us. The drafts they have, we will have to look at them. Those are not proposals yet, but we will be looking at what they have, what they've placed on the table in the form of a summarized version of the NADCO report, which is bulky.
Okay. And the Azimio side was saying that we should not amend this thing. It should be published or put into law the way it was without any amendments. Is that something that you're also supporting?
And unfortunately, as a JLAC, we will have to look at what is in our mandate. A NADCO committee may not have the mandate to propose bills. And they may propose bills, but we have to look at them afresh. We, as a committee of parliament, and especially now joint committee, we will have to look at the legality of the bills. Some of the bills have to conform to the constitution where they are proposing to amend existing acts of parliament. They must conform to the constitution, they must conform to our policy, they must also conform to the other laws that exist. As regards the constitution, we also have to look at whether what is being proposed is constitutionally viable. Can the constitution accommodate such amendments in any of the articles? We have to look at this.
So they cannot have their way that it just passes the way it is?
No, it cannot pass the way it is because if it cannot conform to the format of the Constitution, it may have a problem. If it does conform, we have no reason not to agree, not to approve. It's a consideration. And remember also, Parliament is going to consider these bills within its mandate. It's not going to be rubber stamping. It's going to be to look at it as the bills are presented and whether these conform to our legality, our principles of legality.
Okay. And something that Kenyans are asking, will we go to the plebiscite? Will you be going to the referendum now that we have this proposal?
Number one, we are not sure which portions of the amendments require plebiscite, referendum. We will have to look at this. What I know for sure is there's some areas that are going to be parliamentary. Parliament, by sessions in the House, in the 2 houses, can amend the constitution that way. There are other areas which we must go to the referendum. We will be isolating what is for parliament to pass and what should go to the referendum. And referendum is referendum. It just has to be done.
Which are these areas that require referendum?
We have not yet identified which areas require referendum. We have not identified which areas require parliamentary approach. But we are going to be doing this, and we'll be discussing it with you. It may be too early now to try and summarize this, but I know for sure because I have read some of the recommendations.
Okay.
Some for in between parliament, others go to referendum.
Okay. But normally, generally, as a legal mind and as a chairperson, which are the areas that normally, not disregarding this bill, must go to the referendum?
Areas that touch on changes to the structure of the government, that may require referendum.
Like bringing in the Prime Minister?
Areas that we will have to look at the Prime Minister because per se the Prime Minister appears to be a cabinet secretary. If we don't give it other names and other functions away from what is contemplated under the executive section of the Constitution. But if we are going beyond that, giving him more powers that are not contemplated, that may be a change to the structure of the government and may require a referendum. But again, I cannot comment on this until I look at the bills. When it comes to also structure of parliament, if there are any changes that affect the structure of parliament, those may have to go to a referendum. Again, I may not be able to isolate this now. We have to look at the whole report and the proposals that are made awesome entirely.
Okay. And there's something that also came up, apart from this report, that you're recommending 22 CAS positions. Is that the latest? What is the latest about that?
The latest is that there may be changes to that because we have created the offices of CASs to be offices in the public service. It means these are offices to be created by the president or to be created by the Public Service Commission through a law. If we do this, there may be no need of capping because we will leave it to the law to operate the way it is. They don't have to be capped because we don't even have to go 22. We may have 10, we may have 15. And when it comes to 22, we know very well there are state departments that require more than one CASs. This is why we have left it open so that gradually it is upon the exercise of discretion by His Excellency the President to determine the numbers he needs from time to time. So the capping may actually not be there when the bill is discussed and when it goes to the third reading in the House.
Okay. So which stage is the bill now?
The bill is coming up for second reading, which is debate in the House. It is slotted for this afternoon. And this afternoon, we hope we will have sufficient time to debate. If we can finish it today, the better. If we don't, we move on to next week. And then after that, it goes to the third reading, which is the Committee of the Whole House. This is where we implement amendments.
Okay. And maybe, so you have not put it at 22, you've just said at least
what we have done is initially we were contemplating capping it at 22. But on reconsideration and on hearing interested parties and stakeholders, we actually felt what we had done by creating that office. It's an office in the public service. There would be no need whatsoever. Remember, they are not coming to Parliament for approval. They are not engaging Parliament in any way. They are civil servants. So we have agreed we remove the capping.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what will be the duties and the roles of these CASs?
Principally, it is to assist ministers, cabinet secretaries, and duties that they are going to be assigned from time to time, both by the president and by the cabinet secretaries. It's purely to assist, all right? It is not anything else. To assist the ministers, to attend meetings on their behalf, to do certain mandates on their behalf. But we have said the role given by the law for them to come into Parliament. CASs cannot do that.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Asante sana. Thank you.
Vijana.
Well, thank you very much. That has been the chairperson of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, George Murugara, giving us some of the input about the law-making process in the NADCO and other issues in that committee that is very crucial at this point. Thank you so much. Over to you, Jesse.
Well, To, thanks for putting the chair of JLAC at the National